free and equal segment tonight. Gay activists are targeting Christians who believe in traditional marriage. Tim Gill, a tech millionaire and same-sex marriage advocate, wants to punish Christians who don't support gay marriage. Gill said, and I quote here, "We are going into the hardest states in the country. We are going to punish the wicked." And here I thought the left claimed they were tolerant. With me now from the Federalist, Bre Payton. Bre, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
All right, Bre, this is very troubling language to me that this Tim Gill, this gay rights activist, wants to, quote, punish the wicked, meaning he wants to target individuals or businesses who don't just accept gay marriage as a legality, but they don't support it. I mean, what does he think he is? Punish the wicked? Does he think he's God?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how he's phrasing that, right? He thinks that it's his job to punish the wicked. And in this case, the wicked means those who decide to stand in the way of the gay rights movement or the gay agenda or whatever you want to call it. You know, and this is something that I wrote about. And then the Rolling Stone, who did the initial interview with Tim Gill, decided to come after me and say that I completely misrepresented this, blah, blah, blah. But then the writer who went after me at Rolling Stone and talked about all that, Andy Kroll, in his own words, later on said that punishing the wicked doesn't just refer to Christians, but anyone who agrees with a Christian and who thinks that participating in a same-sex wedding would potentially violate their religious beliefs. So, I mean, this kind of does go a little bit more broader, according to the Rolling Stone, than just Christians, but anyone who is religious at all and anyone who agrees with a traditional orthodoxy.
Right, it's frightening, to be honest. I mean, this is essentially fascism. Silence those, extinguish those who don't believe, who don't agree with your ideology. I mean, that forced ideology, liberals don't actually push tolerance here, it seems to me, Bre. They don't want us to be tolerant. They don't want Christians to be tolerant. They don't want people to just be accepting of other people's lives. They want the freedom to live their lives, but they don't want that afforded to anyone who disagrees with them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, you know, in some cases, I think that this religion of tolerance, I think that a lot of times liberals are trying to replace traditional orthodoxy and they're trying to replace Christian religion with this kind of with this kind of tolerance religion, right? They're trying to implement it in school curriculum. They're trying to force it legally in some states, you know, and it is kind of troubling.
Right. I mean, the thing is, our Constitution encodes in our country the idea of tolerance. We don't need all this activism, all these new laws. The idea of our Constitution is that every person has the right to live their lives the way that they choose. That doesn't mean that everyone else in our nation has to line up ideologically with you. We are not a cookie-cutter nation. We are not a fascist nation. We are not a communist nation. We don't silence people who disagree with us. And Bre, I know this is a politically incorrect thing to say, but in our society, we do discriminate. We discriminate every single day of our life, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. We discriminate when we're picking a basketball team, the varsity team. We choose people not to be on the team because they don't have the qualifications or the characteristics that we want. We choose people for jobs based off of their qualifications, who they are, and their experience. We choose our husbands and our wives. We discriminate against anyone who we don't pick for those things. I think the idea of discrimination has been tarnished somewhat by liberals, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, well, okay, I think that when we do have this kind of a conversation, you know, a lot of times liberals like to say that Religious Freedom Restoration Acts, what they do is they're legalizing discrimination against same-sex couples, right? That's what they say, that business owners they now have a legal weapon to go ahead and discriminate against gay people. To give a real-life example, my grandmother, she has a event center in Colorado, and she is legally required and mandated in Colorado because of the legal precedent and to host same-sex weddings, right? Now, she's a born-again Christian. She doesn't personally think that she should be participating in a gay wedding. However, she does host all kinds of different events where there are gay people in attendance who rent out her event center all the time, and that's not a problem. She just doesn't want to be involved in a ceremony, right? So this kind of a case, this kind of an issue does not legalize discrimination. It just gives Christians the ability to say, hi, I don't want to participate, you know, in a gay wedding. So those are two very big different things that I think the left is really incapable of having a nuanced conversation about.
Right, and I guess if we're talking about that, how is that not discrimination? How is that not telling someone like your grandmother that they're not free to live their life? I mean, it's the reverse of the protected status. When liberals give, give the gay lobby a protected status, they're taking away that freedom from someone else, and they don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, and to be clear, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, it's not, a law that says, okay, now Christians can just discriminate against gay people and hate everyone. That's not at all what it is. It actually just asks a judge, whenever there is a religious freedom case that comes before a judge, to perform a balancing test in his own head, right? And the balancing test is comprised of 3 things, but basically what it asks is it says, hi, judge, if you have a case where there's a religious freedom issue, please think about the burden that this is going to place on the person, and if this is absolutely necessary in order for the state to continue, upholding the First Amendment. So it's really just asking a judge to say, hey, maybe think twice before you punish a cake baker for being reluctant in participating in a gay wedding. And a lot of times, those religious freedom acts are maligned and treated completely differently than they really are.
Right, in some of these situations, I mean, we saw the cake baker actually in Colorado. Funny that you mentioned that your grandmother does the same thing there, but she served that gay customer for 9 years. I think it was actually a florist there. She served that gay customer for 9 years. It was only when he asked her to do the flowers for his gay wedding that she said no. So it wasn't a discrimination against the individual, but the act of gay marriage that she was religiously opposed to. Bre, before we leave, did you want to extend an invitation to that liberal writer from Rolling Stone to come on the show and debate?
Yes, let's do it. Let's have a discussion about what really happened and about what punishing people really means. Let's do it. I'd love to do it.
Absolutely. On this show, we'll send this to him.